Another wave of students has returned from Italy in a group that includes 10 seminarians. As Andrew Horansky tells us, churches are also taking steps to stop the spread of coronavirus.
Borromeo Seminary in Wickliffe is being cleaned and disinfected tonight after 10 seminarians and a faculty priest returned yesterday from Italy. They were part of a study abroad program through John Carroll and will self-quarantine for the next 14 days at home, monitored by the Lake County Health District. It's been a week under the weather for the Catholic Church, with the Pope coughing several times during a brief address on Sunday. And though it was just a cold on Thursday, the Vatican confirmed its first case of coronavirus. While back in the U.S., some churches enacted swift changes, banning parishioners from sharing wine,
let us offer each other a sign of peace,
refraining from shaking hands or even hugging during the sign of peace. The Diocese of Cleveland urging those who are sick to just stay home. Guidelines were also issued by the Bishop of Ohio's Episcopal Diocese, who recommended hand sanitizer in obvious places and gazing instead of shaking hands. Worshippers agreeing precautions make sense.
It's not an emergency yet, but we should think about it.
It's not going to change anything as far as how we feel spiritually, and I don't think we're missing out on anything.
Those seminarians were part of a John Carroll group that included 44 students and faculty. They were only in Rome, Russ, and in Sicily. No one yet has shown any signs of being sick.
Okay, Andrew Horansky in downtown Cleveland, thank you.